I never thought a single sentence could erase 6 years of love. But that night, standing in our Phoenix living room, she looked me dead in the eye and said it. Words that still echo in my head like thunder after lightning. "Don't scold my daughters, Mason. Take care of your own." I stood there frozen, one hand still holding the TV remote, the other trembling slightly. Her voice was sharp, cold, final. At the staircase, her 3 daughters stared down at us. Sophia with folded arms, Chloe clutching the railing, and the youngest, Maya, just watching in silence. I'm Mason Brooks. For 6 years, I've been the man who fed them, clothed them, laughed with them, the man who believed love could make a blended family whole. But in that moment, staring at Rachel's proud face, I realized something painful. I had never been part of their own. The room was quiet enough to hear the ceiling fan ticking. Then, as if mocking me, Sophia smirked and whispered, "He's speechless, Mom." I wanted to answer, to defend myself, to remind them of everything I'd done for them. But my voice didn't come. All I said was, "You're right." Then I smiled. Not because I was fine, but because I knew something none of them did. They thought they'd won an argument, but they had just started a story they'd never forget. That night, I disappeared. And by the time my wife realized what I meant by "take care of your own," it was already too late. Please, before I continue, kindly like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories. Let me take you back to how we got here. When Rachel and I met 7 years ago, she was already a mother of 3. Her first husband had bailed after what she called irreconcilable differences. I didn't judge. I saw a woman fighting hard to hold her world together, working her way up to regional sales manager for a luxury cosmetics company. I fell in love with her strength, or what I thought was strength. At first, I was more of a friend to her daughters than a father figure. I bought them ice cream, helped with homework, drove them to school when Rachel's BMW was in the shop. The girls warmed up to me quickly, especially little Maya. She'd cling to my leg and call me Uncle Mason. But I noticed early how Rachel spoke around them. "Girls, always remember, no man should ever tell you what to do unless he's earned that right." It sounded harmless at first, a protective mantra. But later, it became a weapon she used even against me. Her mother, Nora Walsh, was a storm that never calmed. A retired school administrator who'd visit every 2 weeks uninvited with her sharp tongue and her louder opinions. "Mason," she'd say, "you're too soft with them. If a woman talks, let her finish. You men from blue-collar families never learn respect until you're taught." Rachel would laugh, not realizing those jokes were stones building a wall between us. Over time, Nora began planting seeds of division. "You don't owe him anything. My dear, those are your children, your blood. Don't let some contractor tell you how to raise them." I'd overhear these whispers from the kitchen or the hallway. Every time I'd bite my tongue, telling myself peace was better than pride. But peace built on silence is just a fuse waiting for a spark. What Rachel never knew was that 2 years ago, when my Uncle Ray passed, he left me 40 acres of desert land outside Scottsdale. Back then, I was pulling in about $90,000 a year doing commercial renovation. Offices, restaurants, retail spaces. Good money, steady work, but nothing that impressed Rachel's circle of suburban professionals. That inheritance sat dormant for months until I started seeing the way Rachel looked at me when her coworkers' husbands talked about their tech jobs and finance careers. Like I was something to be managed rather than respected. So 18 months ago, I quietly started Brooks Construction LLC. Not just another contracting company, but a development firm. I used my savings, took out a construction loan, and began planning something special on Uncle Ray's land. Rachel thought I was just putting in extra hours on job sites. She had no idea I was laying the foundation for something that would change everything. The project was ambitious. Luxury desert homes starting at $800,000, targeted at Phoenix's growing executive class. I called it Lily Ridge Development, named after my first wife, who died in a car accident 9 years ago. Lily had always believed in me, even when I was just starting out with a pickup truck and basic tools. For over a year, I worked 2 jobs, days at regular commercial sites, evenings and weekends developing Lily Ridge. Rachel was too busy climbing her own corporate ladder to notice my exhaustion, the dirt under my fingernails that was different from regular construction work, or the way I disappeared on Saturday mornings claiming equipment maintenance. But that night in our living room, when she looked me in the eye and told me those children weren't mine to discipline, something inside me finally snapped. Not with anger, but with clarity. Crystal clear, cold clarity that cut through 6 years of accumulated frustration. I stood there in the middle of the living room, the evening light sliding through the half-drawn curtains, cutting thin gold lines across the hardwood floor. The TV was still playing some reality show, but no one was watching. All I could hear was my heartbeat, steady and heavy like a slow drum in a funeral march. Rachel was still standing, arms folded across her chest, her chin tilted high like she was daring me to answer her. "You heard me," she said again, each word clipped. "Don't scold my daughters. Take care of your own." For a moment I just stared at her, not out of anger, but confusion. The word own kept echoing in my head like a bad song. Behind her at the staircase, her 3 daughters stood frozen. Sophia, 16 and sharp as her mother, smirked like she was watching something she'd waited for. Chloe's lips trembled. At 13, she still had a tender heart. Little Maya peeked from behind the railing, her 9-year-old eyes darting between us like she was watching a game she didn't understand. I wanted to tell Rachel that I was taking care of my own, that for 6 years, this house, these children, and that woman had been my everything. But somehow, the words stayed in my throat. Instead, my mind drifted back to the day I first met her. She was standing outside the Wells Fargo in downtown Phoenix, rain pouring, one of those rare desert storms that hits like a surprise. Her umbrella was broken. I'd offered her mine. She'd smiled, the kind of smile that made you feel seen. Back then she was gentle, calm, the woman who told me, "Mason, you're safe now. We'll build something together." And we did. Or so I thought. The room now felt smaller, the air heavier. I stepped forward slowly. "Rachel," I said quietly, "do you even hear yourself?" She rolled her eyes. "Mason, please don't start. You always think you can correct my children. They're not your soldiers." I smiled faintly. "No, they're not. But they're supposed to be our children, our home." Sophia chuckled under her breath. That small sound, careless, disrespectful, cut deeper than a scream. Rachel snapped. "Don't raise your voice at them. You always act like their father. You're not." And there it was, the final nail. 6 years of effort erased in one sentence. I felt my chest tighten, not with rage, but with something colder, disappointment, the kind that sits behind your ribs and doesn't leave. I thought about all the nights I stayed up helping Sophia with her SAT prep when Rachel was traveling for work. The mornings I drove Chloe to soccer practice at 6 a.m. while Rachel slept in after her wine nights with the girls. The weekends I took Maya to church while Rachel nursed her hangovers from the corporate events she claimed were mandatory networking. All of it gone, dismissed like it never happened. I looked at her, really looked, and realized I didn't know this woman anymore. Her eyes didn't carry warmth, only defense. Pride had taken the place of love. Success at her cosmetics company had made her harder, sharper. She'd started talking about my achievements and my income more than our family or our future. "Take care of your own," she repeated, quieter this time. I nodded slowly. "You're right." And I meant it. The room went still. Even the TV seemed to hush itself. I turned away, heading for the hallway. My hand brushed against the wall, the same wall where our family photos hung. One caught my eye, our wedding day at the Desert Botanical Garden. I was smiling like a man who believed in forever. I walked past it. Behind me, Rachel said, "Mason, where are you going?" I didn't look back. "To do exactly what you said." The words tasted bitter, but somewhere deep inside, they also felt like freedom. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my Ford F-150 for hours, parked just a few blocks from the house on Camelback Road. Engine off, headlights dark. The living room lights stayed on for a long time. Maybe Rachel was still pacing. Maybe she expected me to come back in and apologize. That used to be our cycle. She'd explode. I'd stay quiet. And by morning, I'd make peace because I hated waking up to cold silence. But that night, something in me refused to bend again. I stared at our front door, watching the glow from the house fade. When she finally turned the lights off around midnight, it felt final, like watching a door close that I'd been knocking on for years. By dawn, I drove to my buddy Owen's place. Owen Mitchell had been my friend since trade school, a fellow contractor who specialized in electrical work. He looked surprised when I showed up at 5:30 a.m. with just a duffel bag. "You fight with Rachel again?" he asked, still in his boxers and a Cardinals t-shirt. I smiled weakly. Something like that. He didn't press. Owen knew me well enough to sense when silence carried too much weight. He made coffee while I sat at his kitchen table, staring at my phone. When I opened my bag later that morning, I saw the letter I'd written at 2 a.m., folded neatly, sealed in a white envelope. Just 4 words. Take care of your own. That was all it said. I left it on the bed before walking out. No explanations, no apologies, just a mirror of her own words. As the sun climbed over the Sonoran Desert, I drove east toward Scottsdale. The further I went from our Ahwatukee neighborhood, the lighter my chest felt. Though my hands trembled on the steering wheel, I wasn't sure exactly where I was going, only that I couldn't stay. At a Circle K on Scottsdale Road, I pulled over. For a long moment, I just sat there listening to the hum of early morning traffic. I opened my wallet and looked at the photo inside, the one of all of us on the couch last Christmas. Me, with my arm around Rachel, the girls laughing at some movie we were watching. It looked like a lie now. I folded it, slid it under the dashboard, and whispered to myself, "It's time." I switched off my phone. Then I removed the SIM card, snapped it in half, and threw it into the trash. By evening, Rachel would start to realize something was wrong. But I had somewhere to go, somewhere she didn't know about. I imagine how it must have looked when she woke up that morning. The house quiet, my work boots gone from by the garage door, the bed neatly made on my side, the note waiting on the pillow. She probably called my name once, twice, then louder, the tone changing from irritation to worry. I could almost hear her voice echoing through our 3-bedroom house. Mason, where did you go?" She would have checked the walk-in closet, found my clothes missing, not all of them, just enough to matter. Then the master bathroom, toothbrush gone, razor gone, the Old Spice cologne she bought me last Father's Day conspicuously absent. Maybe she laughed at first, thinking it was a petty stunt. She'd tell the girls over breakfast, "He'll be back by evening. Your stepfather is just being dramatic." But evening came and I didn't. When she finally tried calling around 7 p.m., all she heard was that mechanical voice. "The number you are calling is not reachable." Maybe that was when her hands started to shake. Maybe that was when she walked into the bedroom again and sat on the edge of our king-size bed, staring at the note like it might change if she read it enough times. I could almost picture her whispering to herself, "He can't really be gone." But I was. That night, while she paced in confusion, I checked into a Hampton Inn in North Scottsdale. I lay on the clean hotel bed staring at the ceiling, realizing I owned nothing now but quiet. And yet, it was the first real peace I'd felt in years. I wasn't running. I was walking towards something I'd been building in secret. And though she didn't know it yet, every hour that passed was the beginning of her realizing that what she called my daughters had never been the same as our family. The first few days after I left, I imagine Rachel still walking around the house with that same defiant energy, telling the girls, "He'll be back. Don't worry about him." She'd probably even laugh, maybe call her sister in Tucson to complain. "Mason's having one of his moods again. You know how these blue-collar types get emotional." That was how she dealt with tension, drowned it in noise and dismissive comments. But by the end of the first week, the noise would start to fade. I could see it clearly in my mind. The sink stacked with unwashed dishes because I'd always handled kitchen cleanup after dinner. The curtains half drawn because no one remembered to open them in the morning. That had been my routine before coffee. The garbage cans still sitting by the curb on Thursday evening because the girls forgot. And Rachel was too proud to drag them back herself. And then the bills. They always came like clockwork. The electricity would need attention. The pool maintenance company would call. And the mortgage payment would loom like a storm cloud over the Camelback Mountains. That house had always survived on quiet effort. Mine. Now, without it, the cracks began to show. I know this because Owen called me during my second week at the Hampton Inn. "Mason, your wife's been asking around if anyone's seen you. Called my shop twice yesterday. You sure you don't want me to tell her you're okay?" "No," I said, looking out the hotel window at the construction site where Lily Ridge was taking shape. "If she really wants to find me, she'll figure it out. Besides, you sound different." "I feel different," I said. "For the first time in 6 years, I don't feel invisible." That was the truth. Every morning, I'd drive 10 minutes east to the Lily Ridge site. What had started as 40 acres of desert scrub 18 months ago was now transforming into something magnificent. The first phase, 6 custom homes ranging from $800,000 to $1.2 million, was 60% complete. The irony wasn't lost on me. While Rachel dismissed my contractor work, I was building luxury homes for Phoenix's elite, tech executives fleeing California, Midwest retirees with serious money, young professionals who wanted desert modern architecture with mountain views. Brooks Construction had quietly become one of Scottsdale's most sought-after boutique builders. Not the biggest, but definitely one with a reputation for quality and attention to detail. The kind of reputation that gets you invited to sponsor events at prestigious schools. My site foreman, Carlos, had been with me from the beginning, a second-generation Mexican-American who understood both craftsmanship and ambition. While I handled the business side, he managed the crews with the kind of respect I'd never gotten at home. "Jefe," he said during my 3rd week of hotel living, "you seem lighter. Whatever happened, it's good for you." I smiled, watching a crew frame the 2nd story of House 4. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself. But even with my newfound clarity, I couldn't stop picturing them. I imagined Rachel sitting at our dining room table, the same one where we had that argument, staring at the empty chair I used to occupy. Maybe she replayed that night in her head, wondering why I didn't yell back. Maybe she thought of all the times she'd mocked me for being too quiet, not realizing silence can be louder than screams. I imagined Sophia storming around the house, muttering, "He's just being dramatic," while trying to figure out who was going to drive her to SAT prep on Saturdays. Chloe would stay unusually quiet. That girl always had a tender heart. She'd been the one who slipped Father's Day cards into my toolbox when no one else remembered. Maya, the youngest, would ask the question no one wanted to answer. "Mommy, when is Mason coming back?" Rachel would probably snap, "Don't call him that anymore. He left us." But later, when the house went dark and the children slept, she'd sit on the edge of the bed, staring at my pillow, her pride cracking just enough for regret to slip through. 3 weeks after my disappearance, Owen told me something that made me smile. The mortgage company had called the house. Rachel tried to explain that her husband was out of town on business, but they wanted to speak to Mason Brooks directly about some paperwork. That's when she discovered something interesting. The house we'd lived in for 4 years, the one she'd picked out, the one with the pool and the 3-car garage and a Watuki, was solely in my name. And the rest, mortgage, the deed, the homeowner's insurance, all of it. She'd never paid attention to the paperwork during our marriage. I'd handled all the financial details while she focused on her career and her daughters. Now she was learning what "take care of your own" really meant. But Rachel was resourceful. She tried calling my bank, but the accounts she knew about were nearly empty. I'd moved everything quietly over the past 6 months, not to punish her, but to protect what I'd built. I'd spent too many years trusting love without boundaries. During my 4th week at the Hampton Inn, I got a call that changed everything. "Mr. Brooks, this is Jennifer Martinez from Desert Mountain Prep School. We received your proposal for the new Science Wing sponsorship, and the board is very interested. Could we schedule a meeting to discuss the details?" I'd submitted that proposal 3 months ago, back when Brooks Construction was just gaining momentum, a $200,000 commitment to sponsor their new STEM facility, the kind of visibility that would put my company on the map with Scottsdale's wealthy families. "Of course," I said. "When works best for your schedule?" "Well, we're actually hosting our annual family luncheon this Saturday. Many of our major donors attend, and it might be a perfect opportunity to announce the partnership. Would you be available to speak?" I looked out at the Lily Ridge construction site, where House 5 was getting its roof trusses installed. Everything was falling into place exactly as I'd planned. "I'll be there," I said. After I hung up, I sat in the hotel chair and realized something profound. For 6 years, I'd been trying to earn respect in a house where it was never going to be given. Now, I was about to receive it from complete strangers who valued what I'd built, not what I'd failed to become in Rachel's eyes. That night, I called my attorney and asked him to prepare some documents. If Rachel wanted me to take care of my own, I was going to do exactly that. But she was about to learn that my own included more than she'd ever imagined. Still, there were nights during those 6 weeks when I sat up in that hotel room and asked myself if I'd gone too far. The truth was, I still cared about the girls, but I needed Rachel to feel what I'd felt for years. Unseen, unappreciated, replaceable. One evening during my 5th week away, as I reviewed architectural plans for the Lily Ridge Clubhouse, my phone buzzed. An unknown number with a local area code. I hesitated before answering. Mason? The voice was small, hesitant. Chloe. My throat tightened. Mom doesn't know I called. I got your number from Owen's business card. I just wanted to know if you're okay. I'm fine, sweetheart, I said quietly, setting down the blueprints. How are you? She's different now, Chloe whispered, and I could hear her moving to somewhere private. We all are. She cries when she thinks we can't hear her. And Maya keeps asking when you're coming home. Sophia pretends she doesn't care, but she asked me yesterday if I thought you were really gone forever. I closed my eyes, feeling something crack inside my chest. Tell me about school. How's soccer going? I quit the team. Nobody could drive me to practice anymore. Mom's always working late now, Her voice broke slightly. Trying to figure out money stuff. Chloe, listen to me. This isn't about you girls. You know that, right? I know, she said, but I could hear her crying. I just miss you. We all do. Even Mom, even though she won't admit it. I miss you too. More than you know. Please come home. The words hung in the desert air like a prayer I couldn't answer. Not yet, sweetheart, but soon, okay? Things are going to be different, but they're going to be better. Before she could say more, I heard Rachel's voice in the background calling her name. Chloe ended the call quickly. My hand trembled as I set the phone down. For the first time since leaving, I felt something close to tears. Not of pain, but of realization. They were starting to feel the absence, but more importantly, they were starting to understand that actions have consequences. It was a bright Saturday morning when everything changed. The kind of Arizona day where the desert sun feels generous instead of punishing. I drove to Desert Mountain Prep School in my new black Silverado, one of the first purchases I'd made for Brooks Construction. The truck had the company logo subtly etched on the doors. Brooks Construction, LLC, Building Excellence. Rachel stood at the school gates, adjusting her sunglasses and pretending not to notice how other parents stared. I could see her from the parking lot, dressed in her best business casual, a cream-colored blazer that probably cost more than most people's car payments. Her daughter's private school was hosting its annual family luncheon, the one event she always used to brag about attending with her successful contractor husband. Except this time, the seat beside her was empty. She told the girls, "Don't worry, Mason's just working on some project out of town." But I knew she'd been crying in the kitchen 2 nights before. Owen had mentioned hearing from his wife, who'd run into Rachel at Target, that she looked defeated. The compound buzzed with chatter and laughter. Parents milled about in expensive clothes and confident attitudes. These were Scottsdale's elite, tech executives, medical specialists, successful entrepreneurs, the kind of people Rachel always wanted to impress. I watched from a distance as she forced her brightest smile, greeting a few mothers she used to look down on, back when she thought her husband was just a contractor. "Oh, Mrs. Brooks," one called cheerfully. "You came alone today?" Rachel's smile faltered for just a second, then snapped back in place. "Yes, Mason's working on a major development project. He sends his regards." A harmless lie, until her friend added, "Oh, that's strange. I thought I saw him here earlier." Rachel blinked. "What?" "Yes, he was talking to Principal Morrison about some kind of sponsorship. Brooks Construction, right? He looks so professional. You didn't come together?" The world seemed to freeze for Rachel. Brooks Construction. That name again. The one she'd seen on documents she'd been trying to understand for weeks. Her throat went dry. "You must be mistaken," she murmured, but her voice shook. Her friend frowned, pointing toward the main building. "No, I'm certain. He's probably still in the administrative offices." She turned sharply, her heart thudding, eyes scanning the crowd. And then she saw me. I was standing near the main entrance in a navy blue polo shirt with the Brooks Construction logo embroidered on the chest. Next to me stood Principal Morrison, a tall man with gray hair who commanded respect from both students and parents. We were reviewing the architectural plans for the new STEM wing, my $200,000 contribution, making me one of their most significant donors. For the first time in 6 weeks, Rachel saw her husband. But this wasn't the tired, quiet man who'd left their house that night. This was someone else entirely, confident, respected, speaking as an equal with people who mattered in this community. A small crowd had gathered around us. Other major donors, board members, even the mayor's wife. They laughed at something I'd said, their body language showing the kind of deference usually reserved for people with real influence. Rachel stood frozen 50 yards away, her hand trembling as she gripped her purse. I turned slightly, and for just a moment, our eyes met across the courtyard. Time seemed to fold on itself. All the noise, all the laughter, all the children's chatter vanished. Just her and me, separated by 6 weeks of consequences she was only beginning to understand. She blinked hard as if trying to make sure she wasn't hallucinating. But when she saw me shake hands with the principal and step toward the podium that had been set up for donor recognition, her jaw dropped. "Good afternoon, parents and faculty," I began, my voice steady through the speakers. "It's an honor for Brooks Construction to support the development of our children's future. Education is the foundation of everything lasting, including respect." The word respect hung heavy in the desert air. Her fingers tightened around her purse strap. I could see her face from where I stood, confusion trying to hide panic, panic trying to look graceful. Every line of her face betrayed her shock. She wanted to march up and demand answers, but every camera, every eye in that courtyard was watching the successful businessman addressing the crowd. So she stayed rooted, pretending to smile, pretending to breathe, normally while her world shifted beneath her feet. "Brooks Construction believes in building more than homes," I continued. "We build communities, foundations, and futures. The new STEM wing will prepare these children for careers in engineering, technology, and innovation, the same skills that turned 40 acres of desert into Lily Ridge, Scottsdale's newest luxury development." When the applause ended, I walked down from the stage, shook hands with board members, and made my way toward the exit. I didn't even look Rachel's way again. That was part of the plan. Not revenge through words, but through silence. Silence so loud it echoed in her bones. But as I passed near the school entrance, I heard a voice that stopped me cold. "Mason?" I turned to see Maya, just 9 years old, standing with her sisters near the flagpole. She looked uncertain, almost afraid to approach. "Hi, Princess," I said, kneeling down to her level. She ran up and hugged me tight, burying her face in my chest. Her small arms wrapped around me with desperate strength. "I missed you so much. Mom said you might not come back." Sophia and Chloe followed cautiously at first. 16-year-old Sophia, who'd smirked at me that night, now had tears in her eyes. "We didn't know where you went," she whispered. We thought maybe we made you leave." "No, sweetheart," I said, my voice steady despite the emotion building in my chest. "This was never about you girls. This was about me finding out who I really am." Chloe, always the tender-hearted one, wrapped her arms around my neck. "Are you coming home?" I looked over their heads to see Rachel standing 20 feet away, frozen in place. Her carefully applied makeup was streaking down her cheeks. The crowd around us had stopped their conversations, some taking pictures of what looked like a heartwarming family reunion. "We'll talk soon," I told the girls, "all of us, but right now, I need you to be patient with your mom. She's learning some things she should have known a long time ago." I stood up, kissed each girl on the forehead, and nodded politely toward Rachel before walking to my Silverado. I could feel her eyes burning into my back, but I didn't turn around. The drive back to the Lily Ridge site gave me time to think. Phase 1 was nearly complete, 6 custom homes that would be occupied by Christmas. Phase 2 was already in planning, another 8 homes that would bring the total project value to over $12 million. Not bad for a simple contractor. That evening, Owen called me at the hotel. "Brother, you've got Rachel calling everyone in town trying to figure out what just happened. She showed up at my shop an hour ago demanding to know where you're living." "What did you tell her?" "That if she wanted to find you, she should have paid attention for the last 18 months instead of treating you like hired help." I smiled. Owen had never liked how Rachel treated me, but he'd kept quiet out of loyalty. "She's going to figure it out eventually." "Actually, she already has, sort of." His voice got serious. "She hired that private investigator, Lucas Kane, ex-cop who specializes in missing persons. He's been asking around about Brooks Construction, property records, that kind of thing." "Good. Let her learn the truth the hard way." 2 days later, Lucas Kane's report landed on Rachel's kitchen table like a bomb. Owen's wife, Sarah, had coffee with Rachel's neighbor, who told her about the brown envelope and the screaming that followed. Inside that envelope was everything Rachel hadn't bothered to learn about her husband during 6 years of marriage. Property deeds showing that I owned not just our house, but 40 acres in Scottsdale and 3 rental properties in Phoenix. Bank statements revealing accounts she didn't know existed. Corporate documents establishing Brooks Construction as an LLC with assets exceeding $2 million. But the document that destroyed her was the last one. A letter I'd written to my attorney 6 months before our argument, updating my will and trust. In it, I'd established education funds for Sophia, Chloe, and Maya, enough to cover college tuition at any university in the country. The letter explained my reasoning. These girls deserve opportunities regardless of their mother's choices. They are innocent victims of family dysfunction, and they should not suffer financially for circumstances beyond their control. The letter was dated 8 months ago, long before our final argument. Proof that even when Rachel was dismissing me as inadequate, I was securing her daughter's futures. According to Sarah's report, Rachel spent 3 hours that night sitting at the kitchen table with those documents spread in front of her, finally understanding what "take care of your own" really meant. I had taken care of my own peace, my own dignity, my own future, but I'd also taken care of the girls who'd called me dad for 6 years, even when their mother insisted I wasn't their father. The next morning, I drove to Lily Ridge Chapel, a small non-denominational church I'd built on the property. It was my tribute to Lily, my first wife, who'd always believed that faith and hard work could overcome anything. I was surprised to find Rachel's BMW in the parking lot. She sat in the last pew, clutching a tissue, her eyes red from crying. She looked up when I walked in, and for the first time in months, I saw the woman I'd married, vulnerable, human, stripped of the corporate armor she'd worn for so long. "You really did it," she said quietly. "Yes. You built an empire while I was telling you that you weren't good enough." I sat down in the pew across from her. "I built it because you told me I wasn't good enough. Sometimes we need to be broken before we can be rebuilt. Mason, I was wrong about everything. I let my mother poison me against you. I let success make me cruel. I hurt you in ways I didn't even understand." I looked at her for a long moment. "You saw my potential, Rachel. You just decided it wasn't worth your respect." She covered her face, sobbing openly. "I thought love meant being in control. I thought if I didn't stay strong, we'd fail. But I was the one who failed us." "The girls don't need to see us fail anymore," I said softly. "They need to see us end this right." She nodded through her tears. "What happens now?" I stood up, my voice gentle but firm. "Now you learn what I learned. That home isn't a place. It's where respect lives, and respect isn't given. It's earned." Months later, I moved into the model home at Lily Ridge. Rachel and the girls settled into one of the completed houses, not as my family, but as my responsibility. The girls visited often, and slowly we rebuilt something better than what we'd lost. Sometimes love means staying. Sometimes it means walking away. And sometimes, when someone tells you to take care of your own, the greatest gift you can give them is showing them exactly what that means.